slowly, it sounds so very lonely. Ideas for a past, one that just didn't last.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Dee-licious. Today we're going to be making pancakes. I didn't realise until recently that I make pancakes a little bit differently to some people. I have a friend who drops around her sometimes after she ends her shift. She's tired and her favourite thing is to have pancakes here while she has a cup of tea with us. So I always make her pancakes, and she was watching me make pancakes last time around, and she said, I never do that when I do pancakes. You really have to put it up on your channel. So if you do this, this isn't for you. And if you don't do this, this might help you get a really, really nice fluffy pancake, which stays fluffy after you've taken it out of the pan. So we're starting off with 200 grams of self-raising flour. I'm going to be adding baking powder to this because I'm also going to be adding milk with a half lemon in it. The milk and the baking powder, you've probably heard me say this before in lots of other recipes that I've done, the milk and the baking powder react. So you don't have the taste that comes with baking powder sometimes. Sometimes if you over baking powder a recipe, you can taste the baking powder. It's not very nice, but you will have a very light finished product at the end. Mixing it with the lemon helps with the reaction. The lemon and the baking powder react to create a big lift, but at the same time they kind of cancel each other out taste-wise. So you're not going to be able to taste lemon in the pancake, and you're not going to be able to taste the baking powder either. So I'm only going to be adding a half a teaspoon of baking powder to this, like so. And I do like to whisk that in before I put anything else in so that we don't have a clump of baking powder. A little bit of a well in the middle, and 2 eggs. I always try to crack my eggs into a bowl first. It's just good practice in the kitchen. It's better to crack on the side. I'm using a plastic bowl anyway, so it'll be quite difficult to crack an egg on this bowl, but also it means that you might be getting some shell into your mix, which is never a good idea. So it's always best to crack on the side instead. I don't know what that is.
It's Mum.
But it's probably my mum. What is she doing?
I don't know. I know, she's the fire. She's cleaning this glass fire.
We have a wooden fire upstairs, and she cannot stand it if the fire...
Glass.
If the glass gets in the least bit cloudy, she has to see the fire. So she's got this horrible tool, and it really puts your teeth on edge, and she cleans the fire. Sometimes she does it when other people are in the room, and it's enough to clear a room. So that's what that sound was, if you're wondering. We're crazy. Any case, I know this looks like I'm just about to put vodka into my mix, but this is homemade vanilla essence. It is vodka in actual fact. You steep vanilla beans in the vodka for 6 weeks at least, and then you have your own. Oh, it smells so good. It really does smell fantastic, but you can't smell it as well.
We can look at it.
You can look at it. And it's really fabulous stuff. And surprisingly, I use a lot of vanilla essence in my cooking.
Days, you just...
I like a lot of vanilla essence, what can I say? So I find it best, and it's a very good quality as well. So you know that it's proper vanilla instead of being a vanilla flavouring. Okay, so this, as I mentioned before, is milk. This is 100 ml. No, it isn't. It's 200 millilitres of milk. It has a half of a lemon squeezed in, which is why it's a bit chunky. And I'm just going to break up the eggs a bit like so, and then put the milk in. Now you're looking for quite a thick batter consistency with this. You don't want it too runny. If you were making crepes, for crepes Suzette, which my Auntie Carolyn makes fabulous crepes Suzettes, then you would want it runny and thin. But because you're making pancakes, what you actually want is a much thicker. I'm going to add just a teeny bit more. Let me see. I'm going to add another 50 ml. You don't want to do too much at this point. Add too much at this point because it can ruin. There we go. Yeah. But you don't want to do too much here. Just combine it and forget it. Even if it's a bit lumpy like this, that doesn't matter. It's perfect. Don't overstir. You're going to ruin the light consistency that you're trying to get. So now we're going to go over to the cooker. Amy's going to bring her Amy Cam, which is an updated Amy Cam, which my uncle very kindly donated. And we'll get this on the hob.
Shall we call it Aussie?
Or Mo.
It's amazing. All the way. Aussie. I'm calling it Aussie.
Here we are on the cooker top. I'm just going to show you what I do because I know some people don't do this, but I find that the flavour of your pancake is so much better if you fry it in butter. I know you're all judging me right now and thinking how terrible that is, but it does give a much better flavour. The problem with it is that butter burns very, very easily. So what I like to do is I like to do a half oil and half butter. So you just put a knob of butter at the end. I'm using this one, which is a olive oil. I try to use olive oil if I can. The biggest trouble I have with olive oil when I'm buying it is that quite often most olive oils, at least in the UK, tend to have a very bitter aftertaste, which obviously is never very nice, but particularly if you're frying something sweet, it's particularly unpleasant. This one is expensive. This is £12 we're talking about right here, but it's healthier and it hasn't got the flavour. So there we go. That's the one to get if you don't like the bitterness. Right, so whilst I'm waiting for that to melt, as you can see, the mixture here, you can see all of the air bubbles in it and how light and fluffy it's become. I have a half cup scoop, which I always use because it deposits just the right amount. It's not a half cup, it's a quarter. It always seems to just deposit just the right amount for a pancake, so that's what I always tend to use. And when it gets to that point, in with your pancake mixture. Mum's going to kill me because I've just dripped this all over the top, and she has just cleaned it. So now, as you can see, air bubbles are starting to come through, which is showing that it's cooking. You want to wait until you've got quite a lot of those that have appeared before you ever try to attempt turning it, otherwise you're going to have a mess. I'm not I'm not going to be doing the big flip. I think that probably most people would call these drop scones because they're just a dollop instead of a big pancake. So I think in some places these might be called drop scones instead, but this is the size that my family always has them. Okay, so now that we have our pancakes, what do you want to put on them? It is traditional in my house to have lemon and sugar on a pancake. That is predominantly how we have it. I personally like golden syrup with a little bit of lemon. Just adds a little something something. Today I'm going to be showing you the two ways, one that my mum likes, which is the lemon and the sugar, and one that my sister likes, which she likes chocolates and bread. And I'm going to fancy up the plates a little bit because it takes just a few seconds longer to make something look pretty. So that's what we're going to do.
Worries will just melt away like a morning mist in the warmth of day. The rain sips down the glass, now slow and now it's fast, falling from the skies like teardrops from your eyes. I hear it on the pond, clinging to grassy frond. The ripples become one, keep spreading on and on. When the sun comes out, it will be alright, like the comfort of a child's nightlight, and the words will just...
Okay, so that is the finished article. I know it looks terribly decadent, but you know, you don't have one every day, or maybe you do. No secrets will be given here. I hope that you enjoyed watching. I hope that you try the recipe out, and if you do, I'd really love to hear about it in the comments below. I also hope that you like and subscribe, but thank you very much for watching.
It's pretty in its way.
I can't wait any longer. Sorry.
It's too messy in the background for this.
Doesn't matter. Who cares? They're all looking at the pancake.
No, they're not.
Yes, they are.
They're looking at the mess in the background. That's what I would do anyway.
Okay, now.
Cake, is it 2 eggs?
Excuse me.